So before we get started reading and exploring data, we thought we'd do a little section on communicating with R. So how does R talk to you? Because that's often something that's that we're not really used to maybe. So if I scroll up again, you can see that when I read in the tidyverse package, I got, so R was talking to me. I got some messages. It told me which packages were attached, so which ones were loaded basically. It also, when you install a new package, it tends to give you a progress report of, okay, now I'm downloading something from somewhere, and you might see a lot of text, and that might be a bit, might feel a bit scary in the beginning, but it's not really something to worry about. So I will often try and communicate with you, and two important things that it might say is it might give you error messages or it might give you warnings, right? So when you get an error message, something has gone wrong. So let me define a variable called hello. So you can see it turns up in my global environment up here. So you can see the variable is called hello, and then the value is hi. So it's just a text that says hi. Now I'll uncomment this line and try to run it. Okay, so now R gives me an error, and it says object hello not found. So when R gives you an error, it means that the line that the arrow is in, so this one, can't be run. So this just can't be executed. And it'll try and help you by giving you this error message to help you try and figure out what went wrong. And here, what actually went wrong is it says it can't find the object hello, but I can see it here. So what's that about? The issue is that R is really finds capitalization very important. So if I type hello with a small h, like I've been doing here, then it works. So my mistake was capitalization, right? So now it works, and now we're getting the hi printed, which is what we want. All right, so errors mean something went wrong, the line didn't work, try and fix that, try and figure out what's going on. But you might also see warnings. So warnings you get when R can run the line, and it does run the line that the code or that the warning occurred in, but it tries to warn you that something that you might have an issue, that you might have a logical error or something like that. So what I'm doing here is I have one vector. So vectors have this C syntax. So a vector is what you have when you have several elements of something. So here I have a vector with 3 numbers. And then I'm adding that to a vector with only 2 numbers, right? So they're not the same length. And R gives me a warning. It says longer object length is not a multiple of shorter object length, but it also gives me the output, so the addition that I asked for. So with a warning, R will run the code, it'll give you the output, but it'll tell you, are you sure that this is what you want? Because you usually would want to have vectors with the same number of data in it, right? So you wouldn't want unequal numbers in most cases. So R is trying to warn you. It's also trying to warn you if you have an older version of a package, because some commands might not be available. Okay, so warnings are something that you should think about, but sometimes you can ignore them. Errors means something just didn't work. And here we have a little debugging bingo. You can find it in the images folder. So in the repository, there's an images folder. If this is a little bit small, you can have another look there, and you can, if you like, you can have it open in the background. And while we work on exercises today, you can see if you can cross some boxes off, and you can see if you get bingo. And if you do get bingo, let us know in the chat. We can make this a little bit of a of a competition, who gets the debugging bingo first. And debugging, in case you're not familiar, just means that you find and fix any errors that are in your code so that the code runs. And this gives you a few ideas of what might have gone wrong. So R is very critical about missing or superfluous parentheses, commas, quotation marks, and so on, right? So you have to be very exact when you type code here, like with any other programming language too. A really important skill is reading function documentation. So we'll learn about a lot of functions today, a lot of R functions today. And of course, we can't introduce all the functions in the world. So for your own data analysis, it'll be a really good skill if you can read documentation on a new function you would like to use that we didn't get to teach you today. So let's try something. We'll load the cowsay package. You might not have this installed. If you don't have it installed, uncomment the line. So uncomment means remove the hashtag and run this line first, right? So to install the package, if you don't have it already, run that line. And then you can run this line to load it. Okay, and that just loaded. It didn't tell us anything. That's also fine. It didn't complain, so that loaded the package. And then let's try this code. And I don't know if that's been said already, but the keyboard shortcut to run code is Control-Enter or Command-Enter. So Control-Enter Windows, Command-Enter Mac, and then it runs this command. So we're working with the say command, it's a say command. And you can see that the say command, so say, and then I opened some brackets, and then I said what equals good luck learning about the tidyverse, by equals rabbit. And now you can see that you have a cute little rabbit saying good luck learning about the tidyverse. So that's what the say function does. And we can see that it has at least 2 arguments. So what is an argument, which animal is saying that, and by, what is being said, and by is which animal is saying that, right? So we have what and by as the 2 arguments. But how did I know that, or what else could we do with that function? So to find out, we can run this line, so $say. So I'll just do that. And you can see that over here on the bottom right in help, I can now see the documentation for the say function. So you can either do $say to see that information, or you can just go to the help pane and type it in here. That's also possible. Both get you to the same page. So this is the documentation for the say function. It straight up tells you that it's from the cowsay package, so that's useful if you're looking for a function and you forgot which package it was from. Then it gives you a description, so what is this all about? It tells you about the usage. So the usage shows you the function, say, and then the different arguments that you could have. And what this also shows you are the defaults. So in other words, if I run say with empty brackets, so I'm not specifying any arguments, the default is a cat, right? As you can see here, it's a cat saying hello world, right? So that's the default. If you don't change or specify any arguments, those default values will be used. So that's what the function documentation tells you. So that's useful. Then if you scroll down a bit more, it gives you more details on the arguments, right? So it gives you a couple of options, for example, which animals you could use here. Not all of them work on Windows, but most of them do. So you can scroll down here and you can see, okay, we have color options as well. So what color and by color, right? So you can change the color of the animal. You can also change the color of the text that is being printed. So more information on all of this, quite a long documentation. And then at the bottom, you have examples. So examples are often designed in a way that you can just copy paste them over to your console or to your Markdown. So I'll just copy paste one example here and I'll just run that. All right, so now we have a cat saying meow, and the color of what the cat is saying is blue, right? You can see that was changed here. Okay, so that's a good way of learning how to use a new function. And when you read this function documentation, it's going to be very helpful, but at some points it's also going to be a little bit confusing, or some information that's in the documentation you won't really need. So don't worry if you don't understand absolutely everything. Often you just read the documentation to figure out, how do I spell an argument? Did it have a capital letter or a lowercase letter? Things like that. So that's very useful, and that's why we're kind of showing it right at the beginning.